Here's a story that perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with our government. In Western North Carolina, Hurricane Helene victims waited months for help under Biden's FEMA. Now, under President Trump, those same cases are being resolved in just 5 days. 5 days. So how is it possible? Well, it turns out when you stop sending emergency funds to house illegal immigrants in luxury hotels, there's plenty of money to actually help Americans. Imagine that. But it gets even more interesting because what they found in those FEMA warehouses in Puerto Rico will make your blood boil. And you know what's worse than government mismanagement? Ignoring your blood pressure while watching it happen. Just like Trump's FEMA is fixing the disaster response system, you need to take control of your health now. With nearly half of American adults suffering from high blood pressure, this isn't just a crisis, it's an epidemic, and that's why I trust this incredible natural formula from boostwithgary.com. While the deep state's blood pressure rises from FEMA audits, you can keep yours in check naturally. Visit boostwithgary.com for 40% off. Don't wait for a health disaster to strike. Okay. Buckle up. Here we go. 5 hours ago, this just breaking, DOGE has uncovered that FEMA allocated $59 million just last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal immigrants. I mean, therefore, I am breaking this. One of these hotels is the Roosevelt Hotel, which is owned by the Pakistani government. The hotel was on the verge of closing before Biden took office.
I was a side administrator at the Row Hotel. So in the hotel, we have close to 5,000 migrants. Anything involving this hotel, I was helping run it. Everything ranging from doctor's visits to medication is paid for the migrants. Anything you can possibly think of, it's being given to them. Car seats, cribs for newborns. There's, I want to say, at least 2 to 3 babies a week being born at this hotel. The migrants being in those hotels have destroyed them. There's a lot of alcohol in these rooms. Housekeeping is there all week, and they'll clean it, and by the end of the night, there's kids getting drunk together. There's people hooking up with each other. There's multiple guns in these rooms as well. The alarming thing is that this hotel is meant to be a family hotel.
You were actually showing me some text messages between a social worker about a drunk 10-year-old in this hotel. Can you talk?
That is Savannah Hernandez right there. She's with TPUSA Frontlines. She's doing the interview.
Talk to us about what happened there.
Yeah, it was a drunk 10-year-old who was caught with a 14 and a 12-year-old, and all 3 of them were intoxicated. And when we looked them up in the system, the parents had checked out 2 days ago.
So their parents just left them there?
Yeah, the parents will leave the kids unattended in the hotel. We heard a security guard start yelling, there's a gun on site, there's a gun on site. It was probably an upset person that we had kicked out of the hotel. I myself had been assaulted. I've seen other people get assaulted.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. Here we have Colette Harrington posting, explain this, Democrats, FEMA is illegally paying $58 million to luxury hotels to house migrants, mostly men, yet hurricane victims in North Carolina are living in tents with no relief in sight. How do you justify that? Here is some aerial footage from Matt Van Swal, drone footage of Western North Carolina. And we have this, FEMA needs to be dismantled.
DOGE discovered.
This is Patriot Mom 717 posting this from Cindy Lexus.
A little more DOGE talk. So while everyone was watching the Super Bowl, DOGE discovered that FEMA paid out 59 million U.S. taxpayer dollars to house illegal migrants in high-rise New York City hotels. That money is specifically designated for United States natural disaster relief. And it didn't go to the victims of the wildfires in California. It didn't go to the victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina or Tennessee who are still displaced, who have lost their homes, who are living in tents, RVs, and hotels with their family and pets. And that violates law. No, it went to house illegal migrants that have crossed our border to stay in New York City high-rise hotels. This is wild. What a misappropriation of U.S. taxpayer funds.
What do you expect, though? That is what you get from a corrupt government. Live from America TV, breaking news. The DOGE team discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York to house illegals. This clip demonstrates the Roosevelt Hotel is still operating as of this week. Well, I'm quite sure that this is all going to come to a screeching halt very, very soon, as this news is just breaking and it's all going to end up on Donald Trump's desk. The DOGE untouchables. Here is Fox News. The DOGE untouchables discovered 59 million more reasons to shut down FEMA. Here's Peter Ducey. Here's Peter Ducey on Fox.
Continues tens of millions of dollars at a time. The latest from Elon Musk, posted at 5:03 a.m., says the DOGE team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. A clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds as President Trump gives a vote of confidence to the world's richest man.
A clawback. Oh, yeah, there's going to be some very upset people. Libs of TikTok. Remember when a FEMA official was fired for avoiding homes with Trump signs in Florida and admitted they did it in the Carolinas too? FEMA is corrupt to the core.
Was fired. I was notified after I demobbed. The next morning, they told me verbally I was fired, but they never provided me anything in writing stating that I was fired. They all alleged that these actions were made on my own recognizances and that it was for my own political advances. However, if you look at the record, there is what we call a community trend. And unfortunately, it just so happened that the political hostility that was encountered by my team, and I was on 2 different teams during this deployment, they just so happened to have the Trump campaign signage. FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation. So this is not isolated. This is a colossal event of avoidance, not just in the state of Florida, but you will find avoidance in the Carolinas. Senior leadership will lie to you and tell you that they do not know. But if you ask the DSA crew leads and specialists what they are experiencing in the field, they will tell you. Demand for FEMA to give you those incident reports.
It's all being exposed. I mean, you know, we've been talking about DOGE here at the Next News Network, but the fact that we have this, you know, it's like USAID, like they're going agency by agency by agency. You know, we've had full reports on USAID, and now we've got to have a full report on FEMA. We're going to have full reports on every single agency as the truth becomes apparent and for the American people. You want to know where your tax money is going? We're going to tell you. Here we go. FEMA exposed. This is 7 hours ago. Illegals got $1 billion from FEMA.
I'm not pissed, and I don't see North Carolina's underwater. 1,000 people missing. While Pinellas County, we had 11 deaths, and we have a majority of our residents that aren't going to be able to come back to their homes because they're completely destroyed. You have Mayorkas, the Biden-Harris administration, and radical leftists in Washington, mostly in the Democrat Party, gave illegals $1.1 billion in housing assistance. People that never paid into the system. Mind you, they wouldn't have been here in the first place if they weren't campaigning on open borders, but that's a separate video. You should be pissed. And if you think as a legislator, I'm not pissed, and I don't see the games that happen in Washington hoping that you're not paying attention, because that's how it goes up there, is they hope the American people are too busy working to pay attention to the crap that they're doing. I'm telling you, you need to get out and vote, because this is not going to stop. It's just going to continue with the inflation, with the border security issues, and now we have Americans that are literally dying, not being able to get assistance, and the administration says, it's okay, we'll give you $750. Meanwhile, they said our tax dollars overseas to fund countries that don't need it, and they give it to illegal immigrants.
That was Anna Paulina Luna, the representative. I believe that appears to have been recorded during the Biden administration. Here's this from Nick Sortor 5 hours ago. They told us FEMA had no money for Americans on Maui, no money for Americans in East Palestine, Ohio, no money for Americans in Western North Carolina, but FEMA had an extra $1 billion to spend on illegals. Yeah, can you believe that? Here's a meme for you. Money for hurricane aid, $750. Money to house illegal aliens in luxury hotels, $59 million. Absolutely disgusting. Here is this. This is our new head of the Department of Homeland Security. Can someone please explain to me how President Trump's FEMA just handled 80% of all open Hurricane Helene victim cases in Western North Carolina in 5 days, when Biden couldn't do it in 4 months? Matt Van Swal, here is.
And in the past 5 days, we've decreased the number of open cases by almost 80%. President Trump is ensuring that communities aren't forgotten, and he launched the first major initiative to connect farmers with recovery assistance as well.
Oh, and then there's so much more. I mean, blows my mind. I'm so happy that they're exposing FEMA right now. Eric Doherty, 5 hours ago, last week, FEMA spent $59 million to luxury New Yorkers. A clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds, says Elon. Elon Musk had DOGE 48 hours ago. This is so they gained access 48 hours ago. Then they discovered the illegal money being spent on the luxury hotels. So it's like piece by piece, it's all coming together. And here we have this. This is Kristi Noem again, Secretary Noem, confirming DOGE is indeed going to be auditing FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. This was 10 hours ago on State of the Nation.
7-8. We're getting rid of FEMA. You're going to do it with Congress?
Oh, the president has been clear, too, that he wants to still help people. But what happened by targeting individuals, helping some people and not others? Listen, the president just in the last 5 days has closed 80% of the open cases in North Carolina. It's amazing when you have somebody who cares how quickly the response can be. And that wasn't the way that it was under the previous administration. There's people that had wildfires 7-8 years ago in the western United States still haven't received their FEMA payments. How are people supposed to pick up
I took a trip with the FEMA director.
Oh, you did?
She cared.
Well, what I appreciated about her, because when North Carolina got hit, South Dakota did as well, she did come. And I think showing up is a big portion of what needs to have happen.
I do want to ask a couple of quick questions. The Washington Post is reporting that Musk and his DOGE team have access to FEMA's sensitive disaster data, which includes personal information about tens of thousands of disaster victims. Have you authorized Elon Musk and his team to have access to Americans' personal data that is housed inside DHS?
Yeah, we're working with them at the president's direction to find what we can do to make our department much more efficient. So I think it's important. This is essentially an audit of the federal government, which is very powerful and needs to have happen. That agency, and one of the things I've been very clear to the appropriators in the Senate and the House is please give me the authority to reprogram funds. There's funds
but that's different from him having access to personal data that is housed in.
The president has authorized him to have access.
And you feel comfortable?
So absolutely.
I remember a time when Republicans were very careful about and worried about the government, particularly unelected people.
Well, we can't trust our government anymore.
Having access to personal data.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You are the government.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that the American people now are saying that we have had our personal information shared and out there in the public.
But now Elon Musk has access to it.
Yeah, but Elon Musk is part of the administration that is helping us identify where we can find savings and what we can do. And he has gone through the processes to make sure that he has the authority.
You're totally
the president has granted him. I am today by the work that he's doing by identifying waste, fraud, and abuse. And his information that he has is looking at programs, not focusing on personal data and information.
Not focusing on it, but he has access to it.
We'll be continuing to talk to him about what all he has access to. But this audit needs to happen to make sure that we are going through a process that adds integrity back into these programs. And people's personal information has been out there in these caseworks that have been closed for a long time, that people are getting responses now that they haven't had before.
Last question.
CNN's Dana Bash melting down right there. Trump's DOGE is coming for you. Flaming toxic cis white male. What is this? Replying to FEMA.
So the trailer's up here, and like I told you guys, I'm not putting anybody on camera, but what an amazing family. The boys are just such a joy to be around. And I want you to see why they would rather live up here than anywhere else. I would rather live in a tarp in this country up here than in any hotel, any city, any camp. They were completely denied by FEMA because they're off grid, since they don't fall into the system of, permits and, all the stuff that cost a fortune to do. FEMA denied all assistance up here. But we've got a beautiful camper sitting right down this hill. We're getting on power right now. They've got their old septic tank we're able to reuse, and we're going to get water set up, and they're taken care of. But I couldn't believe how beautiful it is up here. And this is, I don't know. Good work, everyone.
Wow. Oh, and there's more. How were illegal immigrants getting $59 million to stay in luxury hotels in New York when FEMA tried to kick out 3,000 Hurricane Helene victims in western North Carolina out of hotels in the wintertime? Here we have October of 2024. As the election neared, Karine Jean-Pierre assured Americans that no FEMA funds were being diverted to illegals. And today, Elon Musk exposes that FEMA is still sending taxpayer dollars to illegals just last week.
This is a falsehood. So, disaster relief, this is a falsehood. Disaster relief funds used on immigrants illegally in the U.S. The fact is, no money is being diverted from response needs. That's the fact.
You just got busted. Yeah, you just got busted right to your face. Oh, and it's continuing. FEMA spent, okay, we've got another. Smart people are in charge. Good things are happening.
I'm committed with, I'll promise you one thing. President Trump has committed, and I'm committed with him, to bringing FEMA into the 21st century, to becoming a people's agency. And he has set up a task force that will go forward and address how we can better improve FEMA. Perhaps it is going to be eliminating a lot of what FEMA is at the federal level and giving the authority, the dollars, and the money to the states so that they can deploy that.
Yep. Instead of giving it to FEMA, give it directly to the states. Here we have video of FEMA supplies being discovered in a warehouse in Puerto Rico. This was posted 7 hours ago. FEMA officials hid them so the people would suffer to hurt President Trump. DOGE now has access to FEMA. So the allegation here is that FEMA officials hid these supplies in a warehouse intentionally. Look at all that. Just so that they would be, so they would blame President Trump and hurt President Trump. Well, now it's all coming out. Look at all those supplies that were meant for people in Puerto Rico now being exposed. Absolutely unreal. Donnie Palmer for Congress. Trump is right to take aim at FEMA, a bloated government machine that funnels taxpayer money into the wrong hands. It's no surprise such funds ended up fueling criminal operations, including cartels and human trafficking, trying to drain the swamp and protect America. Yeah, it's happening right now. We are watching it in real time. We are celebrating every single moment, exposing all of the rot right at the core of our federal government. Elon Musk leading the charge, the left-wing media freaking out, and hey, you know what? It's time. So let's review what we've learned. Trump's FEMA resolved in 5 days what Biden's FEMA couldn't fix in 4 months. Meanwhile, they were secretly funneling $59 million, your tax dollars, to house illegal immigrants in luxury hotels. And now we find out that they've been hiding supplies in warehouses, deliberately letting Americans suffer just to make Trump look bad. But here's the question nobody's asking. If they're willing to politicize natural disasters and human suffering, what else are they willing to do to maintain their grip on power? How many more Americans have to suffer before we say enough is enough? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking of staying prepared, grab your Mega Avengers gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com while supplies last.